Okay, so this is part 2 of section 3 of chapter 19. So we just got done saying the ability to make a large down payment reduces the monthly payments and the total interest on a loan. So let's go to the next slide as to savings and investing. Okay, so other ways of saving and investing. Purchasing items that may increase in value. For those of you that remember the Lambrecht auto auction, uh, some of those cars that were sold were much more valuable than when they were very first purchased. Now, this can be a big risk though, and there's usually a lot of factors that go into something like that. Number one, what it is that you're buying. When it was initially made, there weren't a lot of them made. So that's number one. So number one, there aren't a lot of them to begin with. Number two, after you purchase it, you don't want to use it very much. What made those cars so valuable is they were never driven out on the road. Number three, you have to keep them in very good shape. You'd be surprised, people that buy things like cars, they're car collectors, they buy them, and then not only do they never drive them, but they put them someplace where it's very easy to keep them clean. They keep them out of the elements. So all of those factors combined will increase the value of them later on. But what's the key in order to being able to do something like that? You have to have the money to begin with. So that's something you can do. It's not something for everyone, but there are some people that do that. Regular installments to a savings account that is earning interest. I mentioned before that when you have money in a savings account, it can earn interest, but it's going to earn a very small amount of interest. You really have to keep a lot of money in a savings account. And the thing is, instead of doing that, you're better off if you do something like opening up a CD or a certificate of deposit. I'll just tell you a quick story. When I was in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, I delivered newspapers. I didn't earn a lot of money, but every month I earned $30, $40, maybe sometimes $50 if people gave me some tips, especially if it was around Christmas time. People might, give me a little something extra. But anyway, what would happen is my parents always made me put that money in a savings account. I wasn't happy about it. I would rather go down to the video arcade and I'd rather spend all my money playing video games. But my parents said no. So it had to go in a savings account. When I got a certain amount of money in a savings account, my parents would then purchase a CD or a certificate of deposit. And then I would simply start over again. So I'd go back to almost zero in my savings account. And then once I'd get a certain dollar amount, they'd buy another CD. And then they bought another one. And that's how things continued. Now, one thing you have to remember is way back then, because I know I'm old, but way back then, the interest on CDs was awesome. It was like 12, 13%. Nowadays, you're lucky if you can get 2 or 3%. What happened was, I got done then, so I had 4 different CDs, each of them earning a different amount of interest. They were never touched. By the time I started college, by the time I graduated high school, I had college paid for because the interest on those CDs, it increased, or the value of them increased every month because you took the dollar amount times the interest. Whatever that was, you added it. Well, now the total value of the CDs went up. Now you take that new value, you multiply that times the interest. The CD value goes up, and that kept happening and happening and happening. Nowadays, CDs just don't have the same amount of interest. And the reason is because so many people were buying CDs and banks were paying so much out in interest, they said, you know what, we've got to lower the interest rates. The other thing is financial institutions have come up with so many other ways for people to invest money and to profit from it that CDs just don't have the same effect that they used to. Buying stocks is another way. We've talked about this before. The value of a stock has to be greater than what you purchased it for. And the thing about stocks is you have to have a decent amount of money to buy stocks that are going to do you any good, or you have to buy a small number of stocks over a long period of time. And then after you've done that and you've accumulated a good number of stocks, then some of those stocks are going to earn money for you. Money market funds, mutual funds are just ways of buying stocks that you normally couldn't buy them on your own, but what will happen is brokers will say, well, this person wants to buy stocks, and this person wants to buy stocks, and this person wants to buy stocks. So they'll take money from a number of different people, and then they will use that to buy these stocks that one person normally would not be able to afford. Now, do you have a lot of stock in that one company? No, you don't. However, it's a stock that normally earns a lot of money. Because it earns a lot of money, it has a lot of value. Alone, you wouldn't be able to afford to buy it. But because the broker pooled together money from 3, 4, 5, maybe even 20 different people, now you have some of that stock. Bonds. Bonds are a very safe investment. You're pretty much always going to earn money, but because they are so safe, because there's always money to be earned, there's not a lot of money to be earned. I said there's money to be earned. I didn't say how much. It's usually a very small amount of money. In fact, bonds will normally earn 0.5%, 0.7%. And before they can even earn that, they have to mature. Like some of the boys in this class, they have to mature. And then after they do that, I know I just took a shot at you and I can do that because I'm not there. But after they mature, then they will start to earn interest. But that interest is very, very minimal. So not a lot of people go that route. Okay, the last slide. Saving money helps the U.S. economy. Okay, expansion of the economy requires capital, which is money in savings that's used for expansion. Money saved is also money invested in the economy. So what happens is you have money in a person puts money into a savings account. A buyer comes to the bank to take out a loan. Now that buyer could be a businessman. I'll make that gender correct. A business person could be a potential home buyer or a potential auto buyer. Regardless, what's going to happen is the bank is going to take The bank's is going to take the money you just put in your savings account and give that to the buyer. Okay, so the bank is not going to physically take money out of your account and give it to this complete stranger, but the money that the bank does give them had to come from somewhere, so it could actually come from your account. If people don't put money into banks, banks can't loan money to other people, and then those people can't go make a purchase, and if they're not making a purchase, businesses, whomever it may be, aren't selling anything. If they're not selling anything, people don't have jobs, and if people don't have jobs, they're not earning money, and if they're not earning money, they're not spending money, and blah blah blah. It's a whole huge business cycle that can really make your head spin. Nonetheless, that is essentially what happens. So getting back to our notes, money saved is also money invested into the economy. A company's ability to raise capital promotes the country's prosperity. You look at some of the most successful businesses that we have in this nation, and one of the things they do is they continue to invest in themselves. What do I mean when I say invest in themselves? They open up more stores, they advertise, they find ways to create more jobs. They're constantly promoting themselves. They're making themselves bigger and better. They're creating competition, and we've learned this a long time ago. Competition is what creates the economy that our country has. If we didn't have competition, we wouldn't have a strong economy. Banks use money in savings to make loans to business people. I just got done explaining that. And businesses that save are able to reinvest in themselves, and I just got done saying that. So that brings that brings part 2 of chapter 19, section 3 notes to an end. Now you have an assignment that you are going to work on, so you may begin on that.